Macroverse. Thank you for coming and seeing us another week. I don't know what's happening. I'm checking to see if we got audio and video. I don't know if I'm a black screen or what we got. I've got some internet issues this week, but we're here as always, and we've got a few things going on. There's a couple drops coming, and um, there's some wonderful art that's still dropping on Drip House. So with that being said, it's about that time. I always bring in Mr. Evan Matthews, and we go from there. I don't know. I'm still watching this thing. My internet's so spotty. It's hard to tell if I'm here or not. So if I disagree,
You're
let me
here.
know.
You're here. Your digital presence maybe in flux, but you're here nonetheless, and that is much.
They told me the earliest they could come out would be Monday, so almost a full week of no internet.
Wow, crazy. So you must be getting
Yeah.
so much creative work done then at the moment.
Absolutely.
Some I know. I don't know how many hands have been drawn, but I know some stories have been worked on. So
God, you can start drawing so bad.
Yeah.
So, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I'm a little all over the place at the moment. There's just a lot going on, as I keep saying. But also getting ready for Comic-Con next week, which is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of meetings, a lot of connecting with people that we're working on stuff with. So I'm excited about that. And then, I guess I can kind of dive right in. I made a tweet a couple days ago, just, cryptically letting people know that, we are building something which will debut with a series of announcements at some point over the next few months. Could be a couple weeks, could be a couple months, but we're working on something and getting close to something where we will be able to kind of recognize all of the participation and different types of participation that people have had across all the different projects and things that we've been involved in. And then that becomes the basis for some of the next things that you'll see come out from us as well. So, I'm excited because of two things. One is, this one part of what we're building is a tool that I can't believe doesn't exist in this space. And so it's one of a few times where we've had to go like, where is this? Oh, it doesn't exist. I guess we have to build it.
I feel like exactly what you guys do. I feel like that's just the way things go generally is, hey, this is
unfortunately the way things go generally. So I think this will be super helpful for what we're working on, and then I think it may be something that will, if not be available, at least inspire some other people to kind of see how we can put a couple of these things together in a way that haven't really been put together before. So that will be probably the next product type release that you see from us, connected to more physical digital things that can interact with each other kind of in the physical space and the digital space. So that'll be, again, sometime over the next, it's not going to be the next couple of weeks. It's going to be probably the next, 30 to 60 days, but the announcements around some of that will start to happen relatively soon. I think people are going to be
I've noticed a lot on the Discord that there's a lot of collecting wallet addresses and stuff like that. So is that something that's connected to that, or where
it's not completely disconnected from it, but that's right now. That's specifically about the Vogu drop that's happening on Drip House right now, which we'll talk about. So a very good segue. So I think it's more of just saying, like, it's easy to think, we've talked about this before, but it's easy to think there's not a lot going on, but there's so much going on. And I think the thing I am the most excited about as far as what we're doing at Macroverse and what we have been working on over the past year is just putting a whole bunch of things in place where I think once we start releasing things in this next round, it's not going to stop for 10 years. And that sounds like an exaggeration, but it's actually not. Like part of what we're planning is literally a 10-year roadmap of releases around a lot of things. So I'm excited about it, and it's also a lot of busyness at the moment, which is there's always something that's not getting done because something else is getting done, and so that's just the way it's going to be for a little while as we ramp all this up. So that's where I'm at, and my head is at a little bit, kind of like in 10 different places all at once at the moment.
I thought I was doing pretty good with the 5-year plan, so 10 years, man. It actually, I feel like people might hear that and get like almost worried, like, oh God, 10 years, that's so long. For me, I'm like excited.
That is
so much content.
Yeah. Not to say that it's going to take 10 years. It's just that we have enough in the works that, and let me be clear too and say, like, we also are very committed to staying flexible and nimble. So, things will come up and will change, as we get more feedback, as we learn things, as we interact with more people. Like, this is not like, oh, we're set in stone now for the next decade. But when we've looked at like the amount of opportunity that we've lined up out of the last year, it's enough to carry us through the next 10 years, depending on how we play it and how it plays out. So it's pretty crazy and pretty exciting. And as I keep saying, can't wait to share more details, which will happen relatively soon here.
Kind of out of left field, one update that I did get today that I wasn't expecting was another Von Dingles update. With some super cool color work and nice little update there. So that just kind of popped into my mind because I got that email today. And that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Von Dingles is into the last issue. So of the 4 issues, we're well into production on the final issue. It's come out so good. Like, you saw the preview of it. So if you backed the Kickstarter campaign, like, there was a preview that Adam put out today. And it looks fantastic. Like, I personally could not be happier with it. So I'm glad you liked it as well. That whole book will be done, probably around the end of this month, and we'll start shipping it out and fulfilling the campaign, and more we can do with that as well. So, I am definitely excited about that.
I guess too. I know we were talking about Comic-Con. I saw in that they said that Von Dingles would be at Comic-Con. Is that Macroverse? Is that like the Von Dingles crew? Like, who all is going to be out there for that?
Yeah, so we'll be there. So this is going to be the first year that Adam and Ricky and I are actually all going to be there together, along with Bennett and Adam Fortier, who's our head of publishing now. So we'll all be there together, which will be a lot of fun. And we got a bunch of meetings lined up and a bunch of people to connect with while we're there. As well as kind of a whole round of planning that we'll be doing. And then the Von Dingles team is going to be the core people from Stupid Buddy Studios. So they're also going to be down. So of course we'll be, connecting with them as well. We had hoped to have something put together for Comic-Con, which is, we're still figuring out if that's possible at this point, but there is a slight chance that we'll actually have a thing that people can get who are there. But either way, we'll all be down there, and the book will be getting fulfilled, within the next few weeks.
Very cool.
Von Dingles ho, eggs on adventures. It's very cool. Let's kind of dive into just what's happening on Drip House this week, because there's some cool stuff and some new stuff. So I'm gonna share my screen so I can show some of this. starting with this week's DMC drop, which they've all been great, as we've said a bunch of times, but really love this one. So the artist for this week's DMC drop is Suji Pop, and Suji is creating a kind of universe of anime PFP characters with the intent of developing a whole story world around this. And so I love this collaboration, and it's a very different kind of vibe, as as part of what I love about this channel is each drop is a really different kind of vibe and celebration of DMC in these different contexts. And so seeing this kind of anime world version of DMC as a character, I think is super cool. Love this ultimate demon guy, and then there is still the chance to lock in the limited legendary in this drop. So if you're feeling motivated and inspired, we've got a very cool let's see if I can show this as well. We got a very cool limited edition that CG put together, which is inspired by Terminator. And just very, very cool. So actually I don't think I can pull that up at the moment, but if you go to the DMC Twitter, which is at Breakbeatverse, then you can see that and see if you want to get a hold of it. But super excited about that. And then if we run over to the Macroverse channel, this last drop was Remind episode 4 in its Drip House edition. So this is, the full episode of Remind episode 4, and some awesome different covers that we put together for this particular episode drop. If you missed it last week, Jason Brubaker, who's the artist and creator of Remind, also did his first drop on his own channel, and we were able to do an exclusive vittles from that drop that we distributed through the Macroverse channel. So very excited about that kind of that tie-in there. And then very exciting, we've been working on this for a while, but working with Jason Trinidad, who's the original Vogu creator, we have now put out our first, or actually in the middle of putting out our first Vogu drop on Drip House. And so I can talk a little bit about, this is meant to be not something that's a derivative of the Vogu collection that exists right now, but a true extension. And so part of the story that Jason and I have been developing is that while the Vogu are, one of the corporations in this fictional world, and sort of the main company that makes these robotic characters that everyone knows as the Vogu, not everyone in this universe is fully on board with, being essentially living as a robot, tethering their consciousness, putting their consciousness into these robot bodies. And so there are whole different types of human societies that run the gamut from being very integrated with technology, but not necessarily wanting to kind of put their brain into these robots. And then there are this group of specific rebels, which we're focused on in this next part of the story, which we call Root, kind of like root access and programming. Shout out to Codex for a little inspiration on that one as well. And so this is, if you saw the episode 0 comic, this is the group that Dana, who's the main character of that, and then the kind of Vogu style character whose name is Nano, they are from this Root rebel organization. And you're going to find out who Nano is when we get into the next episode release. But this has been so fun working on this with Jason. So this is the base piece that anyone can get on Drip House right now. And then Friday we will release the rare piece and the legendary piece. We'll have a limited edition legendary in there as well, and then this flash auction, which is also going to be on Friday. And so as a note for anyone that isn't familiar with how auctions work on Drip, it's actually quite cool. So this is a much shorter auction than most people are used to. It's set for 1 hour. So it's going to start at 10 o'clock on Friday morning Pacific time. It goes for an hour, starting bid of 50,000 droplets. So, for anyone that doesn't know droplets, that's about $50. And then over the course of that hour, people will bid for however high it goes. And a percentage of all the bids goes into this little flash fund. And so there's actually two winners at the end of the auction. There's the person that wins the piece, and there's the person that wins the flash fund. So just for participating, someone is going to get, I think it's maybe 10%. I can't remember. I think it might be as much as 10% of the total droplet price that then just gets given to one of the people that participates in the auction as kind of the winner of the flash fund. So I think it's a really cool mechanic that I haven't really seen elsewhere. So if you're interested in this one-on-one version of Nano from the story, super, super, super cool. I just, I'm in love with what Jason does, and this next set of characters, the ones you're going to see on Friday, and then the whole collection is just really awesome. Part of what we talked about as it relates to the story of Vogu is that with these root characters in particular, you can see that they're still using technology. So they're not, anti-technology, but they're using like older stuff. So like their gear is like maybe some of the things that, the Vogu Corporation kind of early versions, like, maybe it would almost be like if you were using like a, Atari 2600 or the original Mac, while everybody else is using, modern technology. And part of that in the thinking in the story is that by using this older technology and repurposing it, they can kind of be off the network that the main, Vogu and the corporations are utilizing. And so while they have some advanced technology capabilities, they're doing it in a way that allows them to circumvent the corporation and the current society, and that gives them some protection. And so part of what I love about this, the kind of meta of it, is that we're doing this on Drip House and we're doing this on Solana. And so while the Vogu Corporation is over in Ethereum land, the rebels are over here in Solana and Drip land, and that is just kind of a fun way of connecting that to the story where these guys are on different networks. So anyway, that's my Vogu on Drip House spiel, but I'm just excited this is out. We've been working on it for a while, and we've got another Vogu surprise, which will be coming, which I think people will be very excited about, also on Drip House. But this is kind of the next generation, the next iteration of what we're doing with Vogu while we continue to work on the comic series and the story. And so every other week, these are going to be bi-weekly drops on the Vogu channel, but we'll have something fun and something cool every other week that continues to expand the story and the rebels and kind of more on this side of the storyline as we build this all out.
Super cool. Yeah, I think like one of the coolest things that I like about this is just seeing the versatility in his artwork, and like everything I've seen is pretty much that Vogu robot, like, to see a human like face and body, and I mean, like he already kind of had the body on some of that stuff, but it's super cool, and just really, I mean, God, the detail and everything in it is just mind blowing. And then
it's really cool.
On top of that, like I love the lore, I love the story, but I kept asking how we would tie a lot of these into Ethereum or Sol, or have them interoperable or however. So I love that, like the lore, the story kind of like brings the interoperability to it, even if it's not necessarily on the same chain. It's like it's in the story. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I love super cool twist.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's very fun, and again, this, to me, the Vogu is all about, like, thematically, every time Jason and I talk about the story, it's like the theme that is the most interesting to both of us is just really fundamentally like humans' relationship to technology. And so, there's so many different places to go with that as far as different storylines. And it's not like, making a specific judgment call about like, it's good or it's bad or, anything else. But there's just so much to explore there as far as the ways that technology enables us and, provides so many positive things in our lives, the risks that we run as we go into areas that we don't necessarily fully understand at this point, or just the speed at which things are developing, the rise of basically 5 companies that control all the major technology on Earth. All those things are again not being judged one way or the other, but just kind of create so much ground to cover as potential story areas, and kind of this fictionalized version of how different types of people respond to different types of technology and their relationship to it. To me is really interesting. So it's a way of commenting on that, thinking about that, talking about that in a very fantastical, not as dystopian as some of our other worlds in some ways, but still kind of a view on the future of humanity through a kind of action adventure sci-fi lens, which I'm always have a lot of fun with. So yeah, very excited about this. And then the other thing that is going to be a little bit of a surprise, and something else we've never seen on Drip House to this point, is going to be, if not next week, probably won't be next week because of Comic-Con, but will debut very likely the week after. So keep an eye out for that as well, with more Rebels coming as in this part of
very nice.
So just to close that loop, for anyone that is a current Vogu holder on Ethereum, we do want to reward current holders, and we're limited to some degree as to how far we can go with that at the moment. But that's what you're seeing in the Macroverse Discord right now. So if you are a Vogu holder, come into the Macroverse Discord. You'll verify and get the Vogu role, which will essentially verify that you are, in fact, a Vogu holder. And then there's a channel that you'll then have access to where you can drop your Solana wallet that is connected to your Drip House account. So all those things have to be true. You have to verify that you have an existing Vogu on Ethereum. You have to have a Solana wallet that is attached to a Drip House account. And then you have to give us that Solana wallet. And those wallet addresses will be used to give you some of these pieces in the collection, regardless of what you do at a droplet level. So, of course, we're very happy to have contributions to the channel, and that helps continue to grow everything that we're doing. But we also want to make sure a certain number of these pieces do actually go directly to current holders. And so that's something we'll continue to evolve over time. But even in this first drop, if you've managed to get your wallet into the channel, and if you can get it in there by the end of today, then you'll at the very least get the rare piece in the collection. A certain number of you will get the legendary piece in the collection. And then we'll continue to reward those people that go through those steps of giving us their Solana wallet that way. And then as we get a little further down the road, we'll be able to do some more sophisticated things around that. But as a starting point, we want to get you some Rebels to go with your Vogu. And then the last thing I want to say about these Rebel characters, actually, I'm going to go full screen again. So, we have been continuing doing our Maker's Room sessions in the Macroverse Discord as well, which is what we call our, community-based stories, anthology stories that are created by people that collect and own these characters. So one of the things that we're doing here, and I'm really excited about experimenting with this with people. So the one-of-ones in the Drip collections are going to be established characters in the lore. So Nano, for example, has already debuted in the comic. We know who that is, or at least we've seen, a version of that character in the story. If we did a Dana, for example, hint, hint, wink, wink, that's the other kind of main Rebel character that debuts in the first comic episode. She would also be a one-of-one and ultimate. So these are kind of existing canonical characters that, get introduced, and then they can be, collected as these one-of-ones. All of the other characters that are in the main, character collection in the PFP collection of Rebels, we don't know who these characters are. And so the game, that's a little different than what we've done before, just because of the nature of how you collect on Drip. The game is going to be whoever defines these characters will then become the one that owns the canonical version of that of the character. So, unlike what we've done with Dead Town or some of these others, where it is already kind of each one is a unique variation, because in this case, already 800 people have this base version of this character. So the first person that shows up and goes through the process of submitting a pitch for the character, and they get greenlit, and we create a story around that character with any and all of these root characters. Whoever decides to do that, to plant that flag in the sand and say, I've got an idea for who this character is, and I'm going to tell a story about who this character is, and we go through that process and we create that story. Each of these is available for that process, and that means everyone else that collected that character has now collected your character. And so we'll treat that way, as you have the chance to kind of establish who these guys are in the lore.
This is actually something that you've thrown out there before in the past. I believe it was on maybe Dead Town. I'm not sure, but I will definitely say it's one of those opportunities that I cannot believe I still haven't seen anyone jump on top of yet. And I mean, like, again, if it doesn't happen, I'll have to come back after this one and go back and do it myself, because how freaking cool would it be, like you said, to have something get greenlit and produced, and all of a sudden there's all these people that already are holding it. And, it's just, to me, I don't know, maybe it doesn't necessarily add to like the monetary value, but just the value of the story and the image itself. I just think, man, how cool would it be to say, like, that's mine, like, it's my story, it's published, and all these people have it.
And I think the cool thing is, and you're about to see this from us again, it probably be delayed because of Comic-Con, but the first of this style of thing, it's a little different in that the biggest reward we offer on Macroverse on Drip is 1 million droplets for a custom story with any character that you want to make. And so the first of those is in the final stages of production. That's going to get back out through Drip and on the mobile app, and same thing here. So I think the kind of cool way of thinking about closing this loop is that, if you go through this process and create one of these characters and it becomes a canonical character that, then we create a comic around, that comic is also going to get distributed back out through Drip. So while we don't know what that technically does to the monetary value of the characters, we still believe, and this is all integral to how we think about all this stuff, is that it may not be an immediate pump, but if that character becomes meaningful in the story and people start to like that character, and there's more content produced around that character, as Tiny is doing with his Dead Town characters, and other people are, creating kind of the next chapters of the storylines that they started with in some of our other franchises, over time, I do believe that starts to resonate with the fan base, and that creates some, all kinds of different value back to the original collectible. So the difference here, which I think is kind of interesting and potentially very cool, is that people will be able to see that process sort of in real time as it's produced and released. And the great thing about Drip right now is there is a real audience of users there. So people see it, show up in their same collection where they originally saw the character show up, understand the relationship between that character and the storyline, and you get this very direct correlation between the genesis of the release of it to the development of the story to now the final story being released kind of out into the same audience. I'm excited to see how that plays out over the first few that we do, but I think it is a pretty massive opportunity to play.
Yeah, super cool.
That's my 4 cents.
Well,
I know you're I know you're a ringer for us on this, which I appreciate, but I do think it's a very cool opportunity.
Yeah, I'm a little
So
biased,
we'll see
but
who does it first.
I think
We'll see who
no, I mean,
takes us up on it.
yeah, I still, like as I said, between all the people that have that and just the opportunity, I mean, man, there's got to be one creative person that's dying to tell that story, and um, I'm ready to hear
I am
it.
ready to hear it too. And speaking of hearing stories, so as mentioned, we did do another Maker's Room session this week, and very excited. So, Matt, Lady Valor, and you are probably the furthest along at this point. We've kind of ended up back with mostly focused on Dead Town stories. I know Matt has got a Vogue story in the works as well, which I keep skipping over as we focus on these batch of Dead Town stories. But all three of these are getting pretty close to moving into production. I would say you and Matt in particular. So Matt has finished his first draft of the script. I think you're kind of right there with yours. And so, can't wait to actually get these next chapters out. We've done a lot of first chapters. We've done, a whole batch of Bushidos and Dead Town and Wanderers and a whole bunch of first chapters of various stories in these different worlds. But these will be the first extended versions, the first round of next chapters. And so I am quite excited about kind of seeing that and starting to put these all out where people can kind of see the way that the different pieces fit together. So it's very cool to me.
Well, and I think for me, what was cool about this round, which was different from any of the others, was this was the first one for me that didn't necessarily start as a full community. So, for me, a lot of them have gone from like GSA, full community, to evolve into small stories or like Bushidos. This one kind of took off where it was becoming kind of everybody, and you could kind of take off in whatever direction you wanted. And again, with this opportunity to come in with these drip characters and stuff like that, it's just super cool to kind of see where everybody went with it and where their minds were, as opposed to just being in the one project or
Yeah. And yet we found ourselves focused on Dead Town again, which I'm not sad about. So.
There's just something about, I don't know. I've said this a lot. Dead Town's just one of those, for me, it's very relatable almost to anybody. I mean, like anybody could find themselves, like if the apocalypse came, like it's going to affect everybody. So I mean, like there's just a story from every level of what kind of neighborhood, what kind of person. That I just feel like anybody could have that story. And I mean, it could be rich man, poor man, lady, male, it doesn't matter. Like everybody's there for it. So to me, there's just so many avenues, of what it could do. For me, it's just so easy to get in and tell that story. But that's what I love about, I want to jump into the Vogue side and stuff like that. I find like myself going straight down to Dead Town every single time. So like I'm curious about other stories.
Yes. Well, we'll stretch those wings in the next round. Whoop. We just lost Tiny. So that is okay. I think we're getting ready to wrap up here anyway. So yeah, I think, this week there's, again, a lot going on. I can't talk about at the moment. A handful of things we talked about. Drip Houses definitely continues to be a focal point, just as a place that we can continue to demonstrate and put out some of the things that we're working on, share some of the things that we have worked on. So that will certainly continue. And then I just want to encourage and invite everyone to come and play in the various things that we're doing. So if you've been, a little discouraged and just kind of the market and things that are going on the NFT side of things, like we've got some plans around that. I know, I've talked to a couple of people recently where I understand like some frustration around what we're doing right now, what I'm saying right now every week of, we're working on a bunch of stuff, but we can't say what it is yet. And I understand the some element of the spirit of Web3 in particular about, being more transparent and, trying to involve the community and really having people feel and as much as possible be stakeholders in the progress that the project is making. I want that. I want to get us to a place where we can be a lot more open and transparent about what we're doing. We will be able to do that once we're able to just make the base announcements for the things that we're putting together. And, I think what I hope will resonate is that the things that we have been working on are bigger things. So it's not another airdrop. It's not another, collaboration. It's not, the things that you've typically seen in the Web3 side of things. It's more of us kind of really looking forward to where do we think Macroverse will live in the world of entertainment? Where do we think we can really be the most impactful in comics and storytelling, and building very directly to that future? So the things that we're working on are the things that will put the 5 to 10 year plan fully on the train tracks and off and running. And there will be some big announcements around that. There will be some recognizable components to that people, I think, will be a little surprised and delighted about how these things are all coming together. But in the meantime, I do hope you'll stay on the ride and stay tuned in and just come play and participate in the ecosystem as a whole. So, the place to do that primarily is discord.gg/Macroverse. And then there will be some things coming out over the next, probably 30 to 60 days where we'll be able to start to talk about more specifics about the tool that we're working on and other ways to participate and see some potential results for everyone involved from that participation. Tiny popping back in basically for the sign off, but
I was like, we made it so far, and then it just
fortunately it didn't kick us both out. But you're breaking up and very pixely at the moment, but I was actually just signing off. I think that's pretty much the news for this week. My intent, I'm not promising this, but my intent is to do a couple of updates from Comic-Con next week. So, if we can grab another stream at some point, or it might just be a few videos that I post on online or in Discord. But again, like, best place to come and play is in the Macroverse Discord. So discord.gg/Macroverse. Make sure you're up on our Drip House channel. So on Drip House right now, that is the main Macroverse channel, the DMC channel, now the Vogu channel, and then Jason Brubaker, who I just, is one of our premier creators. There are 2 more Macroverse related Drip House channels that will be coming pretty soon as well. So we're having a lot of fun there, and shout out to the whole Drip House team, because they've just done not only an amazing job of building this product, but really are some of the most supportive people that I've ever met as far as taking care of creators and helping to, at least in our case, allowing us to try stuff, play with stuff, push the envelope a little bit in a few areas. So just much appreciation to everyone that is building that out. And I know there are big things coming there too. So it's a great partnership and a great platform to be a part of. And on that note, I'm going to shout out Tiny's t-shirt, Scotty Young, Spider-Man, and Venom. So cool. And on that note, I hope everybody has a wonderful evening and a great rest of the week and a great weekend. And we'll be back with something next week, and then back to a full show the week after as well. But thank you, my friend. Have a wonderful night.
Keep me posted. I'll be around. I'll be waiting to get some updates from Comic-Con.
Absolutely.